Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the eternal and undivided capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem, in our eternal and ancestral homeland. I am here today with David Adler. Shalom, David.
Great to be with you, Avi. We're an admirer of your work and your Israel advocacy, so it's great to connect for the first time and do a live piece with you.
Thank you so much, David. It is a pleasure having you here in our office in Jerusalem. And first of all, kol hakavod to you and your wife for being here. Crazy times. You might have been like one of the last tourists to have come into Israel. So welcome and enjoy your time here.
Well, thank you. The Israeli government has made it a little bit more difficult for people like us to enter thanks to this virus. My own view is it's a bit of an overreaction, but that's a different subject. They have to do what they think's right to protect the population of the country.
Right. So you are here, if I'm not mistaken, you were supposed to come with a trip.
Yes, the Australian Jewish Association, which is a very pro-Israel organisation, had arranged a tour commencing on the 17th of March. Well, it was supposed to commence on the 17th of March. And unfortunately, due to the travel restrictions, most of the people who had booked into the tour were unable to make it before the deadline dropped. So we've got to make a decision as to whether we do a very small group and rearrange the itinerary, etc., or whether we say, okay, guys, everything's off, have a bit of a holiday, and we'll get the trip reorganised after this particular crisis has passed.
So now you're here, this new reality. What are the goals for your trip today? Now that you...
Well, we want to connect and build the network through which we can gain information and support Israel, help strengthen our advocacy, two-way street. We can provide some information and also gain some information, and essentially help with building Jewish identity, help with building the correct Israel values, Jewish values for the Australian community, and do our piece to be supportive of the state of Israel.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. And I understand that the American Jewish Association is an organization that
Australian.
My God! Well, I understand. So this is for editing. This is for the edited version.
This is the edited version.
I understand that you started the Australian Jewish Association just a number of years ago, just in 2017, to really provide a voice for Australian Jewry that really did not have a voice beforehand from the other mainstream organizations.
Look, you're right, and your American slip was not so inaccurate, because we do tend to, unfortunately, follow some of the bad American trends that have occurred in the Jewish community. So some of our organisations have moved more and more to the left politically,
right,
away from Torah values, and become less clear, let me say, put it diplomatically, in the way that they approach Israel. So to give you an example that occurred recently that everyone would be aware of, the status of Jerusalem after President Trump decided that he would recognise Jerusalem and move the US Embassy, that became an issue for debate in Australia.
Really? They were arguing whether that was good or bad that Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
And arguing it within the Jewish community.
Wow.
Should Australia do similar? And the government actually embarked on a formal consultation process with various interested parties. Now, I believe that our organisation was the only Jewish organisation in the country to say clearly and unequivocally that Jerusalem is the eternal, undivided capital of the state of Israel, right, and for the Jewish nation.
Right.
And that we should also move our embassy. Now, like in the US, some of the Jewish voices decide that political correctness is more important
than truth.
And they go into these meetings, and when they're asked their view, they come out with the sort of things that have been said for the last 20 or 30 years, two-state solution. You've heard that term?
Too much.
It's a delusion, not a solution in our view.
Right.
So here's the government and our Prime Minister, who is a reasonably devout Christian, who probably initially was looking for the support to make the decision, found that in the Jewish community there was not an adequate
Level
breadth of support. And
Wow.
we can't expect our politicians to be more pro-Israel than the Jewish community. So we were very disappointed. But it's important, I think, that there is a voice which at least is in there articulating matters of principle. Now, that one we didn't win, but there have been other issues that we did win. For example, when the US started to cut back and review the sort of funding it gives to the Palestinian Arabs through
Right.
various entities, we raised the issue and pursued it vigorously. And we actually succeeded, our organisation succeeded in getting the Australian government to, at least in part, modify its foreign aid policy and stop giving cash to the Palestinian Authority.
Right.
Australia does give foreign aid still, but indirectly and through UN and other agencies. But at least the cash that could be directly used for the notorious pay for slay program,
Right.
that was stopped.
Right.
So that's a big win for us, and we were very pleased to be able
Right.
to deliver
A
it.
few weeks ago, I interviewed an ex-terrorist from the Palestinian Authority.
Wow.
And one of his messages that he now his life is in danger because he goes public with his message and he's going videos of this message and he goes to Israeli schools and he talks publicly. He's like, anyone who supports the two-state solution is supporting the subjugation of my own people by our own corrupt leadership of the Palestinian Authority, Hamas. He's trying to talk Jews, some sense into Jews and Israelis. Stop supporting the two-state solution because I'm being persecuted and my family's being persecuted because you are supporting it and allowing your governments to give money towards the Palestinian Authority that then we don't give us any freedom, not freedom of speech. They throw us into jail, they torture us, and you're responsible because you're supporting the two-state solution. And here, our own brothers and sisters are asleep at the wheel because of political correctness. And thank God, it's wonderful knowing that we have partners. And I've seen some of the videos, and you do a great job when you're interviewed on Australian television.
Thank you
Kol
so
hakavod
much.
for your
Thank you so
for your
much.
for your clear voice. And it's up to us that we take the initiative, and people like you take the initiative, not waiting for established Jewish organizations because they've dropped the ball. They've dropped the ball, and they're failing. Not only are they failing Israel and they're failing their own Jewish communities, they're also failing those Palestinian Arabs who they profess to want to help by being Jewish.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to me that Israel has roughly 1.7, 1.8 million Arab citizens. They have many choices. If life in Israel was so bad for them, they can go to Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. They can go, if they are crazy, into Gaza or the
Palestinian Authority.
Palestinian Authority. Many choices. And it was also fascinating that a group of them in the so-called triangle
I was going to raise that.
objected to the possibility that they would be transferred into something that's not going to happen, I think, but a Palestinian state. So that's an interesting voice, and it's one that the general media doesn't listen to enough.
And it's a cognitive dissonance that many of our fellow Jews and even Israelis can't wrap their hands over. On the one hand, here in Israel, this is headline news. We have the Joint Arab List that not only do they do nothing to assist Israeli Arab citizens who are their constituents. Like, again, it's the right-wing governments in Likud do so much more to help Israeli Arab Muslims than their own party that represents them. They support the destruction of Israel as the Jewish state. And yet, when they're given the chance to become of their state of Palestine, they say no. It's like, that should be shooting up red flags everywhere. Hello, Jews, Israelis, wake up. On the one hand, they want Israel destroyed. On the other hand, they don't want to be part of the Palestinian Authority. Well, there's some dissonance there. Please look into it. Please do your research. Please look behind the headlines and the fake news that you're feeding yourselves. There's something wrong with this picture. What you think you know is not right. Wake up. And it takes voices like us to bring up these stories, to wake one person up after another.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the whole difference in priorities, the whole system, the whole ethics, culture between the incredible advances that Israel has made, even when it's been under such significant threats relative to that of its nearby neighbours. So one of the things that we've been battling, and I'm sure it's been a big issue in your mind, is the education is a great showcase for the difference. In Israel, kids are taught maths, sciences, languages, culture, etc. And across in the UNRWA schools, they're taught hatred, glorification of terrorism. And is it any wonder
To murder us.
we get the result that we do?
All
And
right.
we need to be able to highlight this clearly, to call it out,
Right.
because the first step in solving a problem is to expose it.
Right.
And if you're not willing to do that, you're not even taking the first
Right.
step. So I want you to continue to succeed. If we can do anything that helps expose your material,
Thank you. I
Avi,
appreciate that.
and perhaps one day in the near future we'll have the privilege of you visiting us in Australia and doing some events together.
That would be wonderful. It would be wonderful. I just want to end on this a truth bomb, as I call it, following what we were just talking about. There was an article that what's going on in the Palestinian Authority. They are basically blaming Israel for the spread of the coronavirus, right? So the Palestinian Arabs are reviving blood libels as Israel is saving their lives, right? Israel is trying to help the Palestinian Authority deal with the coronavirus. So Richard Kemp, you're familiar with Colonel Richard Kemp?
He follows our material. He's used some of AJA material.
That's amazing. So Richard, if you're watching this video, since David is in it, so Richard tweeted the following, quote, Israel is making massive effort to help the Palestinians contain a coronavirus outbreak after several Palestinians in Bethlehem tested positive for the disease. In return, the Palestinians are continuing to spread blood libels against Israel and the Jews, to which I retweeted Richard and I said, welcome to our reality. No matter all the good we do for our Arab Muslim neighbors, they tell horrible lies about us to the world. However, the truth will win out. Justice will win out. The eternal Jewish people's return as sovereign in our homeland will win out. Am Yisrael Chai. So just, I guess, as a final message to support the continued efforts that you are doing and everyone working with you and your wife and everyone in the Australian Jewish Association with you. Keep up the wonderful work and thank you.
Thank you, Avi, and hope to see you soon for a return visit.
Amen. Sounds wonderful. I'm looking forward to having you back in Israel. Everyone, thank you so much. If you are Australian and not following David and the Australian Jewish Association, now is your time to follow. And otherwise, signing off from the eternal and undivided capital of the Jewish people, here Jerusalem, be proud of who you are, who we are, our eternal connection to our homeland, and stand up and be a proud Jew. Shalom, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Well done.